Welcome to the Draft Brewery. This is Dr. Chris Baker, DC. We are going over the Zendikar Unified Pauper Sealed League build. So this is week one, and the way it works is you get one of each pack of Zendikar, Worldwake, Rise of Eldrazi, Battle for Zendikar, Oath of the Gatewatch, and then you get two packs to choose from. Of those five to add, I chose Rise of Eldrazi and Battle for Zendikar, both because they have Evolving Wilds as my main thought, and they both have like Ulamog's Crusher, Ruin Processor. So I just want to be like a control deck with a lot of fixing and a lot of big fatties. That was my thought on picking those packs. So the way this works is we eliminated all of the rares and uncommons from packs generated from a MTG Gen bot, and now we're left with all the commons. So we have 69 cards here. We had opened maybe one or two foil lands, and I just kind of want to go through the process that I did to coming up with my sealed build here. Realize that you can change builds between rounds. And as you can see on the left over here, I like to build a lot of decks. So in sealed leagues that are supported by MTGO, you can save your deck. So you can see I built 5-color black, red, blue, white, red, black, white, red. And I even helped Gwynedd with a deck, and maybe I'll do a separate deck tech on that later. But you want to look at all your options and realize when certain decks are viable against different matchups is the basic idea. So let's say we have really nutty white-red aggro deck, but sometimes we run into a deck that's very well matched against us, so it could just be pretty bad matchup, so you might as well change it to a worse deck that has a better matchup potentially. So yeah, so I'm going to go through this pool and just show you what I did. So a couple things to note. I just like to note the lands for fixing. We do have Holdout Settlement. Seer's Lantern is almost like fixing because the scries can help us. And Pilgrim's Eye. Pilgrim's Eye was in Worldwake. So the one that I own is from BFZ, which is uncommon, but the one that I opened was from Worldwake. And I can basically tell that because I didn't have enough cards. And we also have Prophetic Prism. That's pretty great. We did open one Waste. I'm going to put that right in the sideboard. Probably aren't any, Blinding Drones. No. Cards that want to use Waste. I think picking Oath of the Gatewatch is pretty bad because you're going to end up with a lot of blanks like that. But there are powerful cards, and you could just get really good cards from Oath too. So yeah, so we do have some fixing. So now I'll just start cutting unplayable cards, in my opinion. So you can see just from our card count, we have a lot of white cards. So it's just might be likely just on sheer statistics and numbers that we'll play white. But let's look through these cards. Reinforced Bulwark. It's pretty good against pingers, and if we have a defensive deck. Living Destiny just gains us life, so not playable. For all contests, plus some counter target creature control. Another creature must block it. It's a sorcery. It's awful. Alice Watcher, that's a good one. Beast Hunt, reveal the top 3. Put creatures into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. I guess it's playable for all creatures. That Caster Spider's good. Or Gnarlin's good. Mrs. Chosen's good if we're heavy green. Nest Invader's good. Gnarlin Pack's good. Earthen Arms, I'm not excited to play it, but in Sealed, a 7 mana 4/4, potentially 7 mana 6/6, not the worst. So yeah, so all these guys are all pretty medium. Let's look at the red. Heat Ray, I'm going to make another column for removal spells. We want to play as many removal spells as we can, typically. This guy's good. This guy's like Tunneling Geopede. This guy's fine. Touch the Void's pretty great. Raid Bombardment. If we end up with an aggro deck, each creature with power 2 or less deals an extra point. That could be good. Rough Rider's good. Kiln Fiend's good. This requires a lot of spells in our deck, though, so we'll see. 2 mana 2/1 can kill a wall, and then it deals 2 damage to them. That could be good. Oh, where'd it go? Here's another thing to realize. If you accidentally double click on these things, you're going to lose it. So you got to keep it in here. Goblin Warpaint, not looking to play that unless I'm super aggressive. Brood Birthing, not likely. We just have that Nest Invader. Expedite, maybe. So, let's continue. Grip Ripper, good for heavy black. Barely get Scorpion, removal. Card draw, removal. Removal, but it's not main deckable. Really good creature. This thing levels up and turns into a... wow. Doesn't even tell you the card. It's a 7/3. Once you level it 4 times, so you have to invest 14 mana. Healer's good if we get some allies, but it doesn't look like we have that many. We just have this free runner so far. Start another column here for allies. Okay, Grim Discovery. We don't have any Evolving Wilds, otherwise it could be good with that, but since we don't, it's probably not good enough. 2 mana 3/3, it's on a land, it's fine. Night Haze, it's fine. Expedite, Night Haze, both kind of good with like Kiln Fiend, but they don't do that much on their own, so kind of weak cards to be honest, but they're all playable. Waving Elemental, that's like a bomb. Sirach Banisher, this card's pretty bomby. It's just Mana War. Will Mage's Trick is almost removal, because we can make their guys small where they think they're blocking, and then get them. It also draws a card, and we have a fixing for it. Lethargy Trap, if they have 3 more guys, it only costs 1, but otherwise it doesn't. It's probably really bad. Cabrera Drone's a good creature. Deprive's good. Vulcan Turn's good. Spreading Seas is good. Negate's good. Merfolk Observer, not looking to play 2 mana 2/1s. I guess it's playable. Shared Discovery, if we get enough token makers or creatures, that's good too. And, okay, that's solid. I guess Deprive is like pseudo removal. Negate, no, okay. Owner's Judgment, that's removal. Battle Herda, good creature. Harmless Salt, it's just a fog, but it only stops their creatures from dealing damage, so if you block, it's good. Problem is, if they're attacking you, they have to have tricks, they have to want to get into combat. I don't know. It can be a blowout, but I'd rather just play good creatures. Career Griffins are great. Sheer Drop's great. Noble Vestige kind of fits in this Reinforced Bulwark category, wherever that card went, right here, of tapping and picking. 3/1's fine. Guardian Zenicon's fine. Court Outfitter, this is just a... We have no equipment, so this is just a hard to cast 2 mana 2/2. Medic's fine if we're defensive. Flyer's good. 3/1, 2/2. 06, 2/2 with an actual ability. Dazzling Rampart, it's a trick. Could be like a removal spell, but it's just a trick. And not looking to play that 1/1. So, let's take out this land. So, what I like to look at now is pretty interesting. Look at the concentration of our removal spells and see. We want to play as many of these cards as we can, and then any card advantage cards if possible. We're definitely going to play these 3 as well. So we can sort by color now. I think we can pretty clearly eliminate black and green. They're just not quite strong enough. With our fixing though, I do want to splash that. Green doesn't have any removal for us though. So let's set those aside. Probably get Scorpion could be close too. I think Null Champion could be close as well. And then most likely going to have some sort of white-blue deck. We could splash this as well. Edge of the Void. Yep. Alright, so let's look at that. So normally I like it when you can group creatures separately. But this deck, you cannot. So what I'll usually do is make 2 piles. 1 to see my creature curve, and 2 to see my spells and removal. So let's separate these. It's like a 4-drop technically. Because we want to see where in the curve we're casting our things. Alright, so this creature curve looks to be blue-white. Splash some amount of black and red. We have, depending on how many cards we play, probably 13 cuts to make. So I like to just start at the top end actually of our creatures and say like, this card's unbelievable, let's never drop it. This card's great, this card's great. This card's borderline because it takes up a land slot and we have a lot of things to do with our lands. This card's only good if they have creatures with power 1 or less. Probably a good sideboard card. Computer Drone's pretty good. Griffins are good. Bulwark, maybe if they're defensive. This card's definitely making it. This card's stats are just too small. This card's good. This card is really easy for them to kill. We have to invest a lot of mana into it before it does anything relevant. So I could see this being a good sideboard card if we know the game's going late or we know they don't have that much removal. 2-mana flyer is pretty great. This card's just bad. Card's bad. I don't like 2-drops without evasion. Medic could be okay. Aeronaut, good. Glory Seeker, not a huge fan when we have Felidar Cup, which is just better. And the Rampart, yeah, could be good. Just stops so many ground attackers. And then these are all of our spells. Definitely playing the best removal spells. Trick, Lantern, Complete. This is a bad trick. Well, they're probably going to have removal spells too, so Negate's probably solid. Spreading Seas. We don't have anything that cares about making their lands an island. You could randomly mana screw them, but we don't care about anything having an enchantment in play either, so it's cuttable. Prive is good. Fixing's good. Right now, if we cut all of these, $25, we still have a bunch of cuts to make. Creatures, 14 creatures. Share Discovery is probably not good enough. So the worst cards just depends. I think my final build of this, I kept changing by a couple cards just to try to experiment. but I think it's reasonable to cut any amount of Scythe Master. I think Cub's good. I think there's enough enchantments. Rampart you might not need. Castigator you might not need. This guy you might not need. And Negate main. Might not need main. If they don't have good spells or good removal, they could just have a bunch of good creatures. So with 24 showing, we need 2 cuts. The way my deck is, I have a lot of flyers and actually a decent curve with decent removal. So I think my thoughts were if my opponents have same amount of removal as me, maybe like 5 removal spells or something, and they kill like my couple big flyers and they kill like a couple of my guys, how do I win the game? If I play a bunch of walls like this guy and this 1/3, then I can't really like win the game. So I think my 3 power attackers are just very good because they can sometimes just deal incidental amounts of damage in the early game. And we can kind of like fake being a blue-white aggro deck. So yeah, in that sense, I think what I ended up doing is just cutting these 2 last creatures. Played the negate main, since they gotta have good removal spells, in all likelihood. And that's 22, get to play 18 lands. And so when I get to add basic land, I also get to throw in this holdout settlement. And another key thing to do is make sure you have access to at least 10 of each basic land in your sideboard. Here I will add 1 mountain and 1 swamp. Since when we sort by color, we have the ability to search for it with Pilgrim's Eye, so we want at least 1 of each. Prism can be a second color for all these, and so can Settlement. So that's probably fine there. And then we don't need any forests, and then it's just white and blue. And so I like to do the Michael Jacob way of doing it, where you just count sources and then divide by 2 and add 1. So for blue, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Divided by 2 is 4. Add 1 is 5. So we want at least 5 blue sources. So let's just add 5. And then white, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's already there. So that's 4.5. You round up to 5. Add 1 is 6. So we want at least 6. And then if you also remember, we hit some lands here. Sandstone Bridge is playable. I think we want it just for some value of attacking, and we actually pick it up with Deprive and get more value out of it. So it's like a spell, which is good. So here we gotta figure out our basic minimum requirements are met, not assuming Pilgrim's Eye, Prophetic Prism, Lantern, Settlement as fixing. We then added some more white to cover that base, and we still have 2 more to cover. So we can probably just add 2 more islands. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 and 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 white sources, 7 blue sources. 1 of each of the others. Yep, that sounds good. So that's how I came to the conclusion of my main deck. There's my sideboard. Looking to sideboard in things like maybe Bulwark. Maybe this thing if they have like some wall that I can't get past. Be able to get Scorpion if they have some small 1 or 0 power creatures I can't get past. If the game is going to go really late, this Null Champion, since it creates a 7/3 Regenerator. You know, can add a Swamp if I add these cards. Guardian Zendikon for sure if they have a lot of 2 toughness creatures, like 3/2s, 4/2s, 5/2s, or just 5 power or less attackers. You can see bringing this card and this card in, this card in, and this card if they're aggressive, and we could potentially cut our splash, but our splash feels like it's going to be worth it most of the time since the removal spells catch us up better than other things. So yeah, so that's how I built this deck. Stay tuned for some matches. I built a bunch of other decks. I guess I can show you these other builds. They're severely inferior, I think, to this build. And I played this build every single match, and I never sideboarded crazily into anything else, but we can look at a few other things. Alright, 5 color. Let's see here. So this deck adds green and shared. It's basically just trying to play shared discovery. We cut the... I guess I should add the holdout settlement. Get in here. For the 18th land, probably need to cut a card. So I guess I didn't fully spend time. So this is just fully defensive deck, but it's trying to utilize shared discovery for some card advantage and all the removal spells. Eyeless Watcher, Netcaster Spider, Nest Invader help create some more tokens. And we play the defensive creatures, and we just cut all the ground early aggressive creatures, since they're probably not that important. This is 41 cards though, so probably need to cut something. I don't know. Maybe just play 41. I don't know. That deck's weird. I want this deck to get better. I need more green cards though. There's black, red. So this is an aggressive deck that plays Kiln Fiend and these bad spells. Grim Discovery, which is bad. 3 mana, 2 mana, basically a 3 mana, 3/3 haste. Uses our land though. Goblin Warpaint, bad. 2 mana, 2/1, bad. Raid Bombardment. We have a lot of 3 power guys, so it's not even that good. So yeah, this deck's just pretty bad, as you can see. Blue-white. This is just a consistent version of the original deck. So we're playing cards like Noble Vestige, which is just a bad card. Spreading Seas makes the cut since it cycles. Stonehaven guy, Glory Seeker. So again, just a bunch of filler instead of removal. White-red aggro. Again, got this Kiln Fiend, some more bad 2-drops, but a lot of aggressiveness here. 16 land with 2 bridges, not bad. Pilgrim's Eye helps find more lands. Seer's Lantern helps us scry lands to bottom, so we don't top deck more than 5 land once we get to here. Get this really bad Noble Vestige, though. But it's an evasive flyer. This deck doesn't, it combos with Raid Bombardment, so it hits for 2. This deck doesn't seem like it's the worst in the world, but it has a lot of random attackers, but not as much removal, not as much flying. I think that's the next best build, but yeah. And that's it. So we built 1, 2, 3, 4. I built kind of five decks. Pretty clear to me that this deck was the best. Again, choose to draw first. Play every single card is relevant and efficient as can be. So yeah. So stay tuned for some matches. We'll post some week 1 matches here, and then for week 2 I will probably going to add a Rise of Eldrazi pack, and then show you the contents of that pack, and then show you how it changes my build, see if it creates any new archetypes or anything, and then we'll just go from there. Alright, stay tuned.